Hello, we're going to have a conversation surrounding the idea about the meaning of the digital resources in the 21st century for foreign language English teacher. So our first point is the digital tools.
But nowadays, digital resources are important inside the classroom as we all know that students don't learn in the way that we used to do it. So digital resources can somehow represent for them another way, of course, to learn. And in the case of the English language, the fact that they can be introduced to another kind of tools to know the language and also to recognize important features of the language and how it is spoken in the real life.
So our first point regarding this is the knowledge of the teacher and how we're going to attempt to contribute to the world on this topic. So it is really important for us that the teacher has knowledge about digital resources. In my case, I believe and I will attempt to use all these digital and multimodalities in order to create real environments regarding the idea of Mr. Jeremy Harmon, where there are real environments and somehow we teachers are in that task. So language learning becomes something meaningful, something for real life.
In my case, I consider that digital resources can be a way in which teachers can design their classes is easier, and also they can explore another kind of activities that they can apply in their classrooms. For example, I consider that the idea of using artificial intelligences, that is a useful tool for teachers as it provides them a lot of resources that sometimes teachers don't even think about it. So first, it somehow saves a lot of time, and as I said before, it gives you a lot of new information that you can transform in the classroom.
Okay, so moving to the second point on this, we talk about the students' knowledge. And we have to take into account that not all students have the resources to develop activities and tasks at home. So teachers, we are in charge of bringing all the resources to the classroom, and then students have to learn how to use those resources, but also we have to take into account that we are in the 21st century, so students are more likely to know about resources than the teacher, and then we have to take into account all that knowledge and apply it to the classroom so students can participate.
Well, regarding that point, I consider that apart from apart of that barrier regarding the infrastructure, I consider that there is a second barrier, that is the fact that of course the students have a certain level of knowledge regarding digital resources, but it can be a difference between students that just use technology just for having fun, for example, and those students that tend to use the digital resources to learn. In that point, there is a huge difference between them. And of course, the fact that the second ones can improve their digital skills better than the other ones.
Okay, so we want to point out that students need to learn how to use these digital resources, and they are told to learn how to perform in the environments the teacher brings to them. But also we have to point out that students need to get some commitment and be committed to their learning process, as we know that tasks and activities will not always be fun and will not always be games, but processes to improve the language and the competencies, as you mentioned it. And then we're going to proceed to the third point of this conversation, which is the consequences of the media and all these resources in the communicative competence.
In that respect, I consider that nowadays society has given more relevance to the digital literacies than to the traditional literacies. And it is noticeable in the fact that, for example, in public schools, students are more likely to watch videos, images, and that kind of visual resources, and they don't even know read. For example, there are seventh graders that read as third graders, and this is something that we have to address in the classroom. We have to try to somehow combine the digital resources to enhance that traditional literacy.
Regarding that point, we have to again think about these resources as tools for students for real life. Then we have to prove, as you mentioned it, we have to try to develop the reading skill, for example, when it comes to screens, when it comes to the paper. So you're talking about the tools, digital tools, and then the traditional tools. But then we have to teach our students how to use the resources outside the classroom and outside their houses, because they're going to face some other texts with symbols, with signs and signals and all these, and they have to learn how to read them as well, not only on paper, not only the code on a paper or on a screen. Now we can talk about the other three competences. For example, we can develop the idea on the oral production. So again, outside digital resources, we believe that, or well, at least I believe that students are not exposed to creating these courses. So digital resources are there to give the student a mean as a way to try to start producing, showing ideas, producing them, sharing them to others through social networks.
I consider that digital resources can go in hand with methodologies that the task-based approach, and it would be so meaningful that teachers use social media or another kind of digital resources to provide the students tasks that allow them to produce or to solve certain kind of problems that can also be related to the real life. So in that way, they are not only enhancing their communicative skills, but also they are learning about how, as I said before, how the language is used in the real life and how they can communicate with others in terms of different of situations, for example.
And yeah, that is related to the idea that we just mentioned, where students do not know how to. They are not taught at school how to produce and interact with others beyond expositions or formal discourses. Let's talk about listening. So students, it is proved, they don't know how to listen in conversations, to listen to the others, to respect the turns, to speak, to expect and wait for the best moment to share their ideas and give more ideas to the conversation, like in this case. They are trying to talk and interact. So trying to improve listening through the digital resources might be used like as models, so we can show them different conversations and then teach them how to go on with the conversations and all these things we have been talking about. For example, in different contexts, we can show different types of conversations, and we are not talking about formal conversations here, but for different environments with their family, when, well, at work, for example, and then taking the bus and making homework and then participating in the classroom, but from other people, so they can be modeled and they can learn how to really interact and speak and use the language in such a way. Well,
another point that comes to my mind is the fact that digital resources can increase the level of motivation inside the classroom. And regarding this point, we can talk about the hypothesis stated by Krashen that a classroom with a low level of anxiety, that classroom will acquire the language in a better way. So I consider that digital resources can somehow facilitate that process to, of course, the students and to the teacher, as teachers have the possibility to create a space in which communication is promoting rather than focus the classroom in grammar structures and that kind of things that for students can be so stressful even. Yeah.
well, regarding that, I believe that motivation, as we talked before, is important, although not all the parts or not all the levels, not all the theory needs to be fun. I mean, we teachers have to engage the students. That's right, that's true, you mentioned it. But we can't expect the students to be super willing to participate and then listen to the other and produce all the time, because that's why we're talking about commitment towards the class.
Yeah.
And we as foreign language teachers, we are trying to foster communication more than just activity and task solving. So yeah, I agree on that we have to motivate them, but I disagree on the idea that they have to be all the time there, having inputs.
But I stated that point because of the fact that I consider it is so relevant that they can see in the activities and the tasks that they are doing something useful for them. That's why I consider that motivation in the classroom is a key point that we have to improve or to develop as teachers.
Well, let's move to the final point, and it is about writing. Remember that Another problem with digital resources and mass media and social networks is that students do not produce in a written way. It is difficult for them to produce a sentence on a paper or on an online document. We have to foster somehow that, and we have to foster writing, handwriting, as they are used to using the keyboard on the phone and the keyboard on the computer. We have to try to teach them how to create discourses about their beliefs, about the way they perceive the world, through writing. But before that comes the oral part, right?
I consider that this is a difficult part that teachers have to develop. However, as we have stated before, it's something that, in fact, the digital resources can help teachers. For example, not all the time the classes have to be based on games or that kind of things, but I consider that we can motivate students through activities that make them write. For example, about their likes or something that is related to their lives.
We can agree on that, but the problem is that they are going to be assessed and evaluated in a formal way. So when it comes to writing, we have to teach students how to write academic way. They are going to be evaluated not only in the language class, not only in English class, not only in the Spanish class, but also in all the other subjects they take, and in life in general. So that would be the end of our conversation here on the meaning of using and dealing with digital resources. And that's it.
Thank you.